During the 86-87 season,
Yeah.
there was a particularly harsh winter, as I recall, and early in January, you got an FA Cup tie coming up in the third round. Conditions weren't too good for training, so you decided you'd go abroad. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I read in a paper somewhere where in Spain you never got arrested if you're a football team. I had a few characters in the side, and I thought, now look, if they go out drinking, the boys, there could be a bit of problem, but we'll try Spain, and we went. And Fungarola, a place called Fungarola, and we stayed there. Brilliant, it worked a treat. You know, the police were great, the boys did have the odd drink now and again, but there wasn't an ounce of trouble. So that was it.
And you had a bit of sunshine to train in as well.
Yeah, we had a lot of sunshine, to be fair. It's very, very hot training, which really was a bit out of character with the weather over here. And I thought, I wonder if it's good or it's bad, because you could see the sweat pouring off the boys, and I didn't know whether it was a couple of drinks they'd had sweating out or whether it was the weather. So I guaranteed to George it was the weather, and then off we went, and it worked brilliantly for the boys. They relaxed, they got away from it, and worked a treat.
And then you came back to the reality of the cup tie. Do you remember that third round game?
Preston? Yeah. I thought at the time, that was a tricky game which you could slip up on, actually. And I went and watched Preston, and I had a scout called Ian McFarlane who was excellent judge of teams, and he had been and watched them twice, and he said, be careful. They have little free kicks that are quick, and, be sharp with them, be prepared properly for them, as though they're a really good side. And that's the way we approached it. We approached it as though they were a really top side. And it worked, thank God.
Once you got over that hurdle, obviously fourth round, did you even at that stage think, this could be Wembley? I mean, Coventry had never been anywhere near it, had they?
A funny thing I said when I got the job, Bob, I said, we're going to win the cup. Hand on my heart. I'd read in a programme, which I didn't know really, we had played in the Leamington Hospital Cup 5 times and won it every time. And I was trying to be funny, wasn't I? That was going to be my excuse if we got knocked out of the cup. I meant the Leamington Hospital Cup, And
Yeah.
I did state that, and they put it in the paper. Sillett says he's going to win the FA Cup. The pressure was piled on Sunday then, through my own silly fault.
But once you'd overcome Preston, the games that came up were slightly trickier, at least on
All
paper.
away from home, weren't they, And you look at them and say, Man United came up, didn't they? They came up. You think, Sheffield Wednesday came up. Everything was coming up wrong for me, I thought. The one places you don't want to go are places like that, And actually, in the end, it turned out the best way. Because what we did have, Bob, which turned an ordinary, hard-looking fixture into an easier, if it can be said easier, fixture, was we had great support. Very vocal, very with the team, behind the team, and behind me at that time. So therefore that was worth a goal to us, I thought, wherever we go. We had these great fans following, and they had a belief, which I suppose I'd given them by opening my mouth, we were going to win a cup, that they were going to win the FA Cup. And therefore they were a great help to us. Great boost when you're struggling, you're defending for your life, and suddenly a ball comes across and you hear them go, ooh, and you think, you'll be sitting there going, ooh, and it's cleared away by Gil Klein, thank goodness for that, and it got to the crowd.
But once you beat Manchester United, you must have thought, I was right, we were going to win the cup.
I thought once we beat them, Alex, we're good mates, Alex and I, and he said it's the nearest he's got to getting the sack in those days, was that result. And Houchy scored the goal, and he was on a golden run from there on in, sort of thing. And he said it's very, very close, because they wanted to change the boots at half time. And I refused. I said, no, we'll play in studs, and that's it. And they said the frost is going to get in the ground, blah, 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 Alex kept trying it, no, we'll stick with what we got. And once we had beaten them, I then sat on the coach with the boys coming back and said, you know what, if we can beat them, we can beat anybody in the league, anybody in the land. I said, because they are a top team, or the top team.
And then you say you played Sheffield Wednesday, I think, next, didn't you?
Sheffield Wednesday, yeah. Stoke, was it? Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday had a moment in time in my history of football. I had the worst game of my life against Sheffield Wednesday at Chelsea. I got roasted. And I never forgave Sheffield Wednesday for that. I said, if ever we want to beat a team, for me, go out and beat Sheffield Wednesday. I said they had short corners, they had everything arranged, you know. Again, a very good skating reports we had on them. And again, it turned out they got very close, but we got the result in the end. Again, Big Cyril was magnificent that day. He was magnificent.
When you look back to that team, it was not a team of stars, but it was a very good side as a side, wasn't it?
It was a well-balanced side, Bob. We had left players on the left, we had right-footed players on the right, and in midfield, we possibly had the best marker in football. I was a great believer in looking at sides and saying their best player is X, you mark X, and don't give him a kick. Lloyd McGrath. He was magnificent at that. Disciplined, unbelievably. But there again, another one that came from the youth team, and he'd been with me all the time, so he understood my way of playing, which I did the same with him in the youth team. But to think he could come all the way through and do it so well, you know, nobody, Mulberry, I remember meeting Mulberry about the Liverpool boy about, 6 months ago. And he looked round, he kept looking round behind. I said, what's the matter? He said, I'm waiting for Lloyd McGrath to come round you. He said he was the hardest to play against I've ever played against, you know. He was strong, he was great, and he was very disciplined. And you could go through sides that hated playing against him. And that was a factor that he turned what were good sides into ordinary sides a bit by putting their best player out of the game.
And did you think as this progressed, did you look at that team and think, you know, not going to win a title, but they can win a cup because of how they are and how they play? Yeah,
I felt that we were 3 players off of winning a title, possibly. With the team I had, you know, they were well balanced, you know. Great goalkeeper, Ozzy. Oggy was fantastic in goal. And you had right back a boy called Brian Burrows at the time. I know he didn't play in the final, but he was the best right back in the country at the time he got the injury. And Greg Downs on the left-hand side, left-footed, disciplined. Never had the greatest of pace, Greg, but by God, he stuck to his job. Not many got past him. And Big Hill Klein at centre half, domineering player, strong in the air. And Trevor Peake, the best reader of a game I've ever seen. He would just pick up the pieces. I used to call him Feathers because he just seemed to waltz into a position and just arrive there, perfectly read, you know. And I was fancied us to keep clean sheets, which is a big thing in cup and in league, you know, if you could keep a clean sheet. I wasn't defensive, don't get me wrong, I wasn't defensive, because I think we had the ability to score goals up front.
So how did it work at that time? Because if I remember correctly, you and George Curtis, were you called joint managers or coaches or whatever you were?
No, what happened, I took over 3 games from the end and kept them in the first division. And George said, well, come on, we'll go in and we'll do a partnership deal. I'll be director of football, you be the coach, you know, and that's how it started. And it worked up to a point, and then there are other points where it didn't work so well, you know. And basically, what happened, Bob, is I was doing all the coaching, I was doing all the scouting, I was buying the players, I was well into that. And George just used to come down, watch training, and go back, and he was basically running the pools in the club from Highfield Road in those days. And that was our jobs, you know. And George was responsible for cars, getting all the cars and things, you know, those jobs that I didn't really want. I've got to be truthful, I didn't really want them, but I wanted just to be involved with the team. This was my agreement with him. I want the team, I'll pick the side, I'll coach the side, and I'll get you results. That's all I promised.
As I'm sure you remember, during that period of time leading up to that Wembley final, I spent a lot of time with you and the team when I was working at ITV, and I saw at close hand there that it was just a terrific rapport. It was almost like father and son relationship you had with them.
Yeah.
Was that what made it work?
got to have been a big part of it. Got to have been a big part of it, because on the discipline side, they all thought it was George. I was the one with the discipline. I was the one. But, you know, I used to say, I had a meeting with the team before, when I first became manager, and said, no, look, we're going to have fines for certain things. If you turn up late for training, if you miss a day's training, you know, there's going to be, you tell me how much we're going to fine. You for turning up late for training, we'll start with that one, you know. And they said, well, we'll put 20 quid on it. Okay, too much, we'll put a tenner on it. So we done it that way, and they sort of made their own rules to abide by, and their own fines, what they should be fined for. So we didn't have a problem in the end, you know. They just said, right, sorry, I'm late, and they throw a tenner in, and that'll be it, you know, and off we go. No problems. But it was something. George had to book up the hotels, the coaches and things like that to go with. I didn't want those problems. So that's how it was done. But he'd come out, we'd have a laugh. He'd be in one goal in five-a-side, I'd be in the other one, because we were two fatties, and therefore we had a job to get the ball past us in five-a-sides. But they used to hammer it straight at you, you know, boy, it hit your leg on a cold morning, Bob. Oh God, did that hurt? And there'd be George's bloody short sleeves, wouldn't he?
I was going to say, and if they tried anything too fancy with George, he'd have just grabbed hold of them, wouldn't he? And
he did twist the ears or bite the nose, you know. He had his way of dealing with it, yeah.
yeah. So you got yourselves there to Wembley, 16th of May, 1987.
Yeah.
And everybody said Tottenham would win. You still
I had that agreement with Greavesy, didn't I? I said, Greavesy, you're the worst tipper of horses I've ever met. Will you do me a favour? He said, of course I will, Snots. What do you want? I said, you tip the opposition all these cup runs we're on. I said, you keep tipping the oppositions, you'll be doing me a great favour. Because everybody will say, Greavesy, you know, he's tipped the wrong one again. It happened like that.
He said Keith Houchin's header was as good a goal as he ever saw in a Wembley Cup final.
His goal.
Houchin's, Keith Houchin's.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Fantastic move, you know, the Oggy kicks a long ball up, Cyril heads it out, and Ouchie collects it, passes it out to Bennett, and for once he turned and ran into the box, which I'd been telling him for ages. You don't move, you head it and watch it. Move and you lose your defender. And away he went. And I turned to George Dalton, the physio, I said, George, he's actually done it. He said, not only that, Cyril, he's bloody scored. He said, and I missed it, really, I really did. I missed the diving header until I saw it on the television. Sorry, I swore it.
It's quite all right. I know the number of players who have said to me in years gone by, I played in a cup final, I just missed the whole thing, it went past me. I bet you embraced every second of that day, didn't you?
You do. You know, that the things you try and think of, all right, this was me. I'd have to try and beat everybody to thinking something different. So I asked how many players had been to Wembley and played too. So I said, right. I rang up Wembley, I said, is there any chance of training on Wembley? So the said, well, there's nothing to do with us. We'll put you in touch with the groundsman. The head groundsman makes those decisions. So I got in touch with him. I said, is there any chance of training on Wembley? He said, nobody's done it so far in my life and nobody will. So I said, well, his name was Neil. So I said, well, Neil, I'll bring you a brown envelope down. How does that sound? He said, be here 11 o'clock Thursday. That's God's honest truth, that is. So we're one up. We're on the coach and away we go to Wembley and we're training at Wembley, which was, and they did a wonderful job for us. Atmosphere, they put on a crowd atmosphere. They even put on a little cup was up there ready to go up the steps and collect. They done everything perfectly for us. Which dressing room do you want? Yeah, which is the better lucky one? That one is, we'll have that dressing room. Oh, Tottenham wanted it. You were having that dressing room, you know, and we had the dressing room we wanted. But everything was done perfectly for us. It was a brilliant, although I say it myself, idea to go and give the boys that experience before a cup final. And that's what we did. We went and trained there for an hour and a half was all we could do. And that was another job of George's. Find a brown envelope, George. And off we went.
And on the eve of that cup final, you're at the Complete Angler at Marlow.
Yeah, another good story.
You got the whole squad together for me, live on ITV.
Yeah.
And they're all there looking slightly apprehensive, and you turn up in a Hawaiian shirt, sunglasses and a wig.
Yeah. I just thought it would bring a bit of a giggle to the side, you know, you got to relax them, you know, and I was trying to relax them. But the Complete Angler, I George had booked the hotel, and he'd booked the Hilton down Wembley Way. So I went there to have a look at it, and I said, George, this isn't right. I said, I don't fancy this. So the hotel manager's showing us the rooms. I said, who's in all the rooms opposite there? He said, the press. I said, no, we can't do that. I said, we can't have the press on one side, and they'll be knocking on the door wanting interviews out of all the players all the time. I said, George, I know of a good hotel. We'll go back and see if we can do that. And that was Marlow. We called in at Marlow, and the fella was a Coventry City supporter, the manager. You wouldn't believe it. And what a great deal he done for us. Did a marvellous deal, marvellous place, and that was it. We were by the river, weren't we, all relaxing?
Yep.
So you had to watch the boats go up and down the Thames. Lovely.
And at the end of that game, you've won the cup. You've done something no one has done before for the club or since.
Yeah, but we had another thing happen that was a little bit unusual. I got them believing if we saw a wedding on match days, that we would win. When I booked the hotel, I said to the manager, the church over there, I said, do you know anything about it? He said, they're very helpful. Go round and see if they've got a wedding. So anyway, I went round, saw him, and I said, have you got a wedding? Yes, we have, a young couple. I said, oh, I wonder if you could put me in touch with them, I said, and I'll invite them over to meet the team before they set off for Wembley and make a little presentation to them. I said, we've got a boat available to go and bring them across the Thames. The hotels will put one on. They'd love that. And that's what we did. They came across on the boat. We gave them a wedding present. Guess what we gave them, Bob? A football. A signed football. I suppose it's worth a bit now, but at the same time I thought, I couldn't think of anything else. And Killer had to put the garter on the young. He loved that job, you know.
Yeah, as he would,
and
yeah.
Again, we saw a wedding, so therefore things seemed to be working out perfect for the boys and for me.
So all those things, you add them all up, and it's back to where we started talking about
Winning a cup.
winning a cup, man management. Not the best 11 players,
No.
but
No.
what a job.
Yeah, they were well organised. I did organise well. I'm praising myself here. I did have discipline on the pitch. I did insist on that we do a job. You're given a job to do it. And they enjoyed knowing their job. It's important that they each knew their individual job on that pitch. We played 4-2-4, and they each knew their job. You know, and that was, to get that through took a little bit of time, to be very truthful. But in the end, I wanted to play into the front men. Big Cyril was a great player at holding the ball up. Colossus, strong, could hold it up, shield it, and wait for players to come round him and receive it from the midfield. And I played that way to him, whereas I'd seen him play in a Coventry side when Bobby Gould had side, and they were trying to play things over the top. He got the worst pair of lungs for running you could deal with. Over 10 yards, an athlete. 15 yards, nearly an athlete. 20 yards, no way. You know, and we used him with to his strengths. He played to his strengths, so we played into his feet. He held the ball up, kept people coming towards him, and he'd give them a move, and a great player to have in the box. Didn't score as many goals as he should have done. He had great ability in either foot, but didn't score as many goals as he should have done him. He was unselfish.
Is it fair to suggest that you maybe had a bit of a drink and a bit of a party that night after you'd won the cup?
No, so was the judge.
Really?
Couldn't do it. We went to a hotel just outside. On the way home, we weren't allowed back in Coventry. The police wouldn't let us back in, so we had to book a hotel. Way out, and I got to the hotel with the team. All our wives were there, and our kids were allowed to come, and only family, and it was brilliant. It worked brilliantly. The hotel looked after us very well. So at 10 o'clock, match of the day came on, so I took the family up to my room. We sat on the bed and had a couple of bottles of champagne, which may surprise you, Robert, that. And we watched the match. And it was a good match. It was better than I thought, to be truthful, at times. And at times, I don't know why I was panicking a bit on the line when Oggy stopped that last one with his feet. But then the knock on the door, and in came the chairman. He said, John, nice to see you with your family sat here watching the success of the cup final. He said, and I'm going to make a promise in front of your family. As long as I'm chairman, you'll always have a job with Coventry City. And I went, Chairman, you've ruined everything there. I said, it's been a great day. I said, but you've just ruined it. So he said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, one day you'll sack me. I said, and that was the only, I suppose, prediction that went wrong. He let me stay another year.
But, I mean, what an achievement. I mean...
Yeah. Bob, it was an achievement for the city of Coventry more than anything. You know, to go back round that city the next day on the Sunday and to see the people, don't matter what colour, don't matter what creed, they were as one. They were supporting Coventry City, and they were proud of their city as they actually achieved something that's brought the press of the nation all within Coventry. The bus ride was superb. We had to go to hospital first because Oggie's wife was expecting the baby, and we went round the hospital and it didn't happen, so we came on round and went to the council house, ended up at the council house, past Lady Godiva. Brilliant, great reception, unbelievable reception.
And when you sit in your chair now, some years on, are there still moments when bits of that game still float through your mind?
Oh yeah, very much so. You know, we had a great referee, Neil Midgley, bless him, he's dead now, but in my opinion possibly the best referee in the league at that time. And he came in the dressing room at Wembley. He said, boys, he said, I've got to be truthful. He said, I'm not going to be biased. He said, but if anybody touches you in the box, he said, don't try and con me. He said, because I might fall for it. And everybody burst out laughing. Great quote from him. But he was superb all the way through the match. He was laughing and joking with the players. You know, never got angry with anybody. You know, had a nice way with him. And he made a big difference to the whole match, I think, Bob. I think that's very important. You know, but in those days there was no divers going around and no conning of a referee happening like it's happening today. It was disappointing to me.
Well, I can agree with you that it was a terrific afternoon, one which I enjoyed, and I thank you very, very much, John. Can I take you back now to the early days? Because there you were, a young man born in Southampton, your father being a footballer and your brother was a footballer.
Yeah.
And I suppose you were ever destined to be footballers as well?
No, my father, when he retired from football, bought a pub in the New Forest called the Lamb, a place called No Man's Land, which is, I still go there. I go there at least twice a year. It's got a magnificent green out in front and the forest in the background. Lovely restaurant there, Bobby from what Mill, and they've got a cricket pitch there, ideal setting for two young kids to get out with a ball and play. Brother, unbelievable, you know, what he achieved, because Dad got killed, I was 8 when he got killed, which again was a moment in life that I'll never forget. Seeing the telegram boy cycling up, and Mum used to say, tell him to keep pedalling past here, tell him to keep, and he didn't. He stopped at a step and delivered the telegram that Dad had got killed at sea. And, you know, to have that happen at that age, Pete had a big responsibility. He was 3 years older than me and he more or less had to take me over. But I was going to be a jockey. I had racing ponies. And I suppose I rode about 30 to 40 winners. And then around the New Forest, I travelled to Wales to racing ponies with a family called the Newmans. And they had these racing ponies. I used to be the jockey for them and go all over the country racing, pony racing. And that was my ambition, to be a jockey. And then one day a trainer came to the pub and said, yeah, I'll take you when you leave school. And it was all agreed. And then suddenly he came back to see how I was doing, and I'd shot up about 2 foot. And he said, sorry, he said, I can't take you anymore, you know, you've outgrown it, you know, you've got to be a certain weight. I had to be at those days 7 stone, and I'd gone to 9 stone nearly, so that was that. So I had to get into the sport, which I did. I got into cricket and football, thanks to Pete, really. Pete used to say, come on, he'd get the football. Every Christmas, he wanted a football. That's all he wanted, and a pair of boots for Christmas. Mum had to buy him the same. Me, I wanted all boats and something like that, you know, but no, Pete was purely he was going to be a footballer. And he is an amazing player. He's so casual. He's the worst trainer you could ever wish to. Him and Greasy were the two worst trainers I've ever seen. Big Pete. But, oh, what a player. You know, he scored from free kicks. I've seen him take them in our half and hammer them in the net. You know, and he could kick
a big heavy ball then as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he could kick a ball from the 18-yard box over the bar at the other end. I've seen him do that in training time and time again. Good player, Pete, but he played for England schools, England youth, England under-21s, he captained, full England, Great Britain against the rest of the world. I played for Wiltshire. Bit of difference, wasn't there? Wiltshire. But at the same time, Ted Drake came down and Mum had the pub then, and he said to Mother, I want to take Peter from Southampton to Chelsea. And she said, do you? What am I going to do for staff for the pub? I'm going to take my boy. He said, no, we'll look after it. She said, well, you take the young one as well. And he'd never seen me. I'd played in the third team at Southampton, the A team. Twice, I think, I'd played. And played for Wiltshire schools and that. And I was very quick in those days. I'd been sprinting a lot, and I'd done very good times in races over 100 yards. So he said, has he got pace? She said, yes, he beats Peter. I don't know whether I could, but I said, yeah, easy. And that was it. He took the pair of us to London. Mum sold the pub up and remarried to the loveliest man I've ever met in my life. And off we go. We go into football. I go into the worst digs in London. Oh, smell of cabbages. I'll never forget the smell. This one's like boiled cabbage. It's a horrible smell. And I opened the door and they said, this is your new digs. And I went, oh no, it stinks of cabbage. Shh, she's a very nice lady, I was told. And that was it. That was in Wandsworth Bridge Road, that was. And I was in digs here for a year, and then I had a friend, Scottish international Roy Cunningham, who came from Scotland down, we were the same age, so we shared digs at a place called Isleworth. Out where the big Gillette clock was Sky. I've got the programme in behind there. I was in digs here for 2 years.
And a certain Jimmy Greaves was around at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, Jim, we had a little bit of a business going. Jim and I became friends, and I was a centre forward in the youth team. And I went to watch the Chelsea schoolboys come. I don't think they could. I think that was a massive mistake moving from there.
When the time came to, am I right in thinking, by the way, you scored your one and only league goal for playing for Coventry?
I scored league goal, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't ask me where it was, Bob.
No.
No, can't remember it. It's that long ago.
And I don't know either.
I can't honestly remember it.
No.
Where was it? I mean, own goals, I'm okay with own goals. I'm good with them. Cool, blimey, I had a few of them in my time. But where was that goal then?
Yeah. I don't know.
You've done me there, Bob.
We'll have to try
Good
and find out. Yeah.
You'll have to come up with the answer on that one.
Yeah. At the end of your career, you had a couple of playing years at Plymouth, by which time your back was giving you a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I was slipped disc, and I went and trained there, and I looked at a lovely place to retire, I thought, Plymouth. So I think I'll go there for 2 years. And I was having problems with my marriage at that time, so I got far away from Coventry as I could possibly get and try and sort myself out. So it came in handy in a way. That did. But a lovely place to go to live. I thoroughly enjoyed my 2 years living there, but I never had the best of luck with injuries and what have you. Derek Houghton was manager, the nicest man that you could ever meet. Too nice to be a football manager. Lovely, lovely man, Derek Houghton. Used to play cricket, didn't he, for Kent in England?
Yes.
And a lovely man.
Yeah. You got into coaching, didn't you? And you went to Bristol City. Had that always been the plan, that you were going to coaching one day?
When I got sent off once in my life was at Luton, playing against a fella called Billy Bingham. My brother hated playing against him, and he was playing left back, and he said, John, change over, you come and mark Billy Bingham. He said, and give him a whack for me. I went over to left back and I kicked Billy Bingham over a little wall, And I'll never forget, it looked ever so funny, the crowd were rolling up. And I looked at the referee and he's going in his pocket and I went, oh, he's going to book me for that. And he sent me off and he made me walk all the way round. I got every cake and sandwich and coffee thrown over me. I had to walk all around the pitch to get to the dressing rooms again. And by the time I got to the dressing room, he'd blown full time. And they got in before me, the players, and they all clapped me in today. Ted Drake didn't clap me in, I assure you.
Yeah.
And when I was at Plymouth, who takes over as manager from Derek Afton? Billy Bingham, bless him. And I thought, this is going to be the end of a long career, so you better start thinking. And I went into the coaching side. And I took the coaching course, and Billy Bingham then started to include me into the training. Show us what Coventry did for free kicks. Show us what Coventry did for throw-ins. Show us what Coventry did for this and that. Hey, what formation? Put it on, John. Go on, you put it on and do that. Which I did. And I thought, I quite enjoy this. Quite like that. And I found how hard it was to deal with players at times. Because you'd say, I want you to stay there. I know you wouldn't in a match, but just stay there for this throw-in and we'll get it sorted, you know. Would they stay there? Would they hell?
I suppose that's a frustration in management, isn't it? That you're on the touchline, you've told them everything, and you think they've got it all, and then you watch and you think, what's he doing? Why is he there? Why is he there?
Oh, Bob, you eat your heart out at times. I promise you, you do, and you can't believe. You go, what is he doing?
And when you ask them afterwards, what do they say to you?
Well, this is where I was different from most, I think. At full time, I would never say a word because it's too late. The match is over. You're only going to fall out with people. Players, you're going to get at them and they're going to go home feeling all angry with me. They're always going to say it wasn't their fault. So I got into that habit of never speaking. Half time, I was a raving maniac. I'd go through them, grab hold of them, I'd do anything to get them picking the game up and getting with it, you know. But at full time, no, I was too late. We get in the bath together and have a laugh and talk about things, talk about mistakes that way. What about when you try to head that ball? What happened to you there, pal? You know, things like that would come up, you know, and it was done in that nice, easy-going way. So in management, I think the hardest thing to deal with that I found was dealing with your board of directors. I didn't find that easy-going at all.
I think everybody just says that.
They always knew more than you. And they had always seen the match. That's after. I had to work before. Before a ball's kicked, you've got to have your tactics right and got to have your players all right and everything before a ball's kicked. That is the hard part. The easy part was after you've seen a mistake made, saying that's a mistake, which they were very clever at, you know. Especially Wiggy, he was ever so clever, he was.
So you start coaching at Bristol City, and then you move up. You apply for a job at Hereford United, which you get. You take over from Colin Addison. There were not easy times at Edgar Street, were they? Very
different crowd to deal with, you know. The best thing I did was to move there, which I found out what type of person in my local, what you were talking to and mixing with. They had a different view on football, completely to what I'd been used to. You know, they were still in many ways Southern League, in many ways. In other ways, you know, what the great John Charles and Colin Addison did there was a fantastic job. You know, that proved to me how hard it was going to be. But at the same time, I had a chairman, Frank Miles, who was a rum character, Frank was, and a good board who backed me with all the new players I wanted, you know. I brought in a fella called Dixie McNeil, I signed from Lincoln, for 20,000. Well, they thought I was mad, bringing him in, you know. He averaged 43 goals a season. Unbelievable. One of the best professionals I've ever worked with in my life. Just outstanding finisher. And how the Premier League, or in those days, Bob, it's the first division, didn't come and get him, I don't know. But he went to Wrexham and got them promotion straight after I left Hereford. But he would have been the last player I would have ever sold at Hereford. And I had 3 years there. We won the championship, third division championship. Signed Terry Payne the first day I got the job. He rang me to wish me luck, and he said, I said, what are you doing, Terry? He said, I'm free from Southampton. I said, would you like to come and join me? Number 2. He said, of course I would. Because we used to travel together when we lived in the New Forest. And I was at Chelsea as a youngster. I used to travel home with the Southampton football team, and Terry would always come and get me and say, come on, come with the team. And we've got to know each other very well. So that's what I did. I appointed him as number 2, and what a player. Unbelievable deliverer of a ball. You know, great feet. You know, had that great record of playing all those games without missing one. 400 and some odd, wasn't it? And shrewd, remembered everything. I was a bit forgetful with certain things. He'd remember every name. As he used to stand behind me as he's coming up, Charlie, Sid, you know, and he'd whisper in my ear, you know, hello Sid, how are you? And it was paid, it would be. Yeah, sharp as a razor. And he got me into the racing again. We used to have a few racehorses, so we got racing together, and that was a hobby of mine then. And we had a very good side at Hereford. You know, we had 20,000 gates. Well, you know, brilliant there. Now they'd love 10,000 or 2,000, I think now. Shame about the club, because I love the club. I thought so much of it. But then when I had the opportunity to move, I had to move. It was the time to move. And Frank Miles, bless him, had become ill. And Peter Hill had taken over, who was the funniest man I've ever met in football. Peter Hill was then chairman. And every away match, Bobby used to wear a wig, didn't he? And he'd go into the opposing boardroom with this horrible wig on, and everybody would be looking at him. He'd go, gentlemen, is there a problem? And he'd turn his head quick and the wig would stay there, wouldn't it, you know? And they'd all burst out laughing. He said, gentlemen, there seems to be a problem. Can you explain this to me, you know? Lovely, great fellow, very funny man.
Then, of course, you went back to Coventry.
Yeah, Jimmy came down, and he ended up taking a little pony back with him in the car. He had a driver, thank goodness, because we got him quite tight. And he said, would you be interested in coming back in the game? And I said, of course I would. And I said it just like, I said, with you, go anywhere. And he said, right. His chairman, Gordon Milne, came back to Coventry. Wonderful for me. Very, 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 very fortunate.
And did you ever think at that time that you would end up managing the club?
No.
Was it an ambition, I wonder?
No, not really. No, Bob, my happiest days in football, all right, cup finals are brilliant, you know, don't get me wrong, was being youth coach. I loved working with kids. I found them so rewarding if you could show them something that would help them along the way. Lovely. You know, that you'd see them put it in a match. That's what I told him. That's what I showed him, you know. I loved it. And at Coventry, I went to the youth tournament in Amsterdam. Blair Witt it was called. It was a top youth tournament abroad anyway. And I won it 3 times with 3 different youth teams. I won it with Coventry, I won it with Hereford youth team, and I won it with Bristol City youth team. 3 times. I've got a gold medal in there that they presented me with as the only man that coached 3 teams to win it.
That's some achievement, isn't it? Because, I mean, Coventry did produce some very good players through their youth system over the years, didn't they?
Yeah, and I came in on the end of that, really. I remember Gordon Milne gave me the youth team as it was then, and you had players like Tom English, Mark Haitley, you know, and all these young players in that team. They were a bit to handle, they were. Yeah. But they were good players. God, they had Danny Thomas at right back. You know, we had a glut of players there that all flowed in from all over the country, really. And then I got my own system going. Steve Sedgley, Smiths, you know, these players came in and had some very good young players.
After you won the cup, you went out and spent what seemed like a huge amount of money at the time, £800,000, to bring David Speedie from Chelsea. You had the money to do it, obviously. Did you at that stage feel you had to have what we would now call a marquee signing? You needed to bring a big player in?
I just felt, at times, Keith Houchin, Bob, if you've got a beautiful daughter and she brought this man into your room, said, I want to marry this man, you wouldn't hesitate. He's the loveliest fellow you could ever meet. But at times, in front of goal, he used to get his feet mixed up. And, you know, there were certain times he used to miss simple goals, and I thought they could be costing us a championship. they could be costing us something that really another cup or something like that. So I thought I've got to improve on that. It's no good being sentimental, the diving header and what have you. You've got to be professional, I thought. So go and buy somebody to take that place. And that was what I did. I bought David Speedy. Headache to manage, a headache. But at the same time on the pitch, 99 times out of 100 he could win you a match. Unbelievable in the air, good feet. But what it did do, and I still think to this day, he just upset the dressing room a little bit. I think he really did. And I think maybe, I thought the world of him. I still do. But at the same time, I think you've got to be honest and truthful, and I thought I may have made a mistake there.
You were quoted at the time as saying Coventry City used to shop at Woolworths and now we can afford to shop at Harrods. Did you say that?
I did say that.
Do you regret saying that?
Yeah, of course. You know, you got, you know, Woolworths are no more, are they? You know, I hope it wasn't that quote that finished them. But it did. I got more letters of complaint from Woolworths staff than I did from anywhere else.
Did you really?
Oh, I've got hundreds of them, bless them. And I do feel sorry that I ever made that statement.
You didn't get a nice card from Mohammed Al Fayed offering you cheap shopping at Harrods then?
No, but he got he got enough money, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he went and bought Fulham, didn't he? That's sillier than saying that statement which I said, you know. Shop at Harrods, go buy Fulham. No, that's not right.
Did the following season, did it take any gloss off you how your FA Cup season went the year after you'd won the Cup?
Well, it wasn't a good coming out, was it? You know.
Sutton United on a Tuesday night.
God.
I say it with confidence because I was there.
Oh, it's the worst day I ever had in football.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else, John. It's the only time that you declined to be interviewed by me.
Yeah, that killed me. That was as though somebody had shot me. I could not believe it. We had the scouting reports were perfect. Mick Kearns done some, McFarlane done some, and they were all saying the only way they'll score is from set pieces. And what do? They score from two corners, don't they? You know, which is scandalous, really. We've been prepared, what I thought properly. We'd done everything as usual, and players just went to sleep for that moment in time. And it's only a split second. You go to sleep and you get done. Coming away from there was the longest journey I've ever had, and we had some long journeys in football, but no, that was a long journey home. That was.
But I mean, those years that you were in charge in this alliance with George Curtis, I mean, Coventry finished 10th twice, 7th and 12th. That was pretty good. Was it then rather harsh that you lost your job?
I thought it was scandalous, to be very truthful. You know, I thought in a way, there was two semi-finals as well. There's a semi-final of the League Cup we got to, when Notts Forest got away with a penalty for Cyril. They said he'd given away a penalty and it was nowhere near. We'd lost to Notts Forest away and then beat them at home, but we lost the game on goals. And then again on penalties at Reading for the Simod Cup. Was it called the Simod Cup? We lost it on penalties, which I had two players who, I can't take them, you know. And we've been practicing for 2 days taking penalties with these players. But at the same time, I can understand that. You can go on a football field and you can lose your nerve, you know, because it's a chance to get back to Wembley. Yeah. And we crumpled up on that, you know. So therefore, if you take the whole games in the leagues, great positions really, and that was the equivalent of the Premier League, which we were playing. And the lowest we had finished, I think, was 10th, wasn't it? The lowest I finished?
12th.
12th. 12th, and then be in two semi-finals and one cup final and win the cup, and then go back to Wembley a second time, because you only go back a second time for the Charity Shield. And we got to Wembley twice, you know, and got beaten in the Charity Shield by Everton.
I know managerial casualty rates are high in football, but you sometimes think it's just too silly for words. Since you left Coventry, have you any idea how many people have been manager or interim manager in that period of time?
God.
I know.
You've
do you want to hazard a guess? Yes, I have.
You tell me, please, because
28.
I was going to say 20.
Yeah.
28. Good grief. That is a lot, isn't it? You know, how can you get?
You have no continuity. You
No
have no
chance
nothing.
whatsoever.
I mean, the move to the Rico Arena. There's been all the hassle there. I mean, do you shed the odd tear at what's happened?
Of course
there?
I do. Yeah, I'm passionate. You know, Bob, I'll tell you the truth. At times I've come home and cried when I was manager. At times I've come over now and feel like I'm going to put my head down the well down there, you know, and I just can't see where it's going to improve. You know, we can't even sort out a pitch now. You know, we've got this, you know. How they couldn't buy the stadium and yet they're threatening to build a new one, and they let the rugby club, the Wasps, come in and buy the stadium. Why couldn't we agree with them? I went to one meeting once and said they've got no chance, because neither would talk to either. They were all at it, you know. And it should have been, we'll buy it, how much do you want for it? We'll pay for it, let's go. That's all it needed saying, for them to buy the Rico. They're supposed to have so much money. They've sold all our best players every year, away goes the best players. You know, the club is never going to get promotion until you keep your best players, until you bring your fans round, until you got your own ground. To go to Northampton was an insult to the Coventry supporter, an insult to him. To think he's gone to work to buy a season ticket for Northampton? No, that can't be right. That wasn't right, and never will be right, in my opinion. You know, mistakes have been made that really schoolboys wouldn't have made, in my opinion. We're not a club anymore that I think has got that family spirit about it. You know, let's get together, let's buy a pitch somewhere, let's go and make it ours again. That's what's needed to happen there. Go and find a pitch in Coventry. The Butts, go and buy the Butts Stadium and make it Coventry City again. Let's bring it back to Coventry. Let's bring them back their football team that the city needs. Let's bring them back success as well while we're doing it. I think there's a great opportunity for a club to start again anew. Make it Coventry City.
And all they've got to do is just think back to that day in May 1987, haven't they?
Oh my God, yeah. They do now. I get people still want to shake my hand when I go around Coventry. You know, and that, I feel very proud of that, to be truthful. I think that is a moment I'll never forget.
John, it's been nice talking to you.
Hold on, I'm going a bit here. Steady up.
I appreciate your time so much, thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you again, Bob. Professional as always.
Thank you.